Hey there folks, Caleb Downing with SDI, and today we're out here at the range shooting an AR-9 that we put together, just kind of breaking it in, seeing how stuff goes, and we instantaneously ran into a problem. And I want to show you what that problem was real quick, and I'm going to show you how I went about diagnosing the problem and how I think we can go ahead and fix it. We'll try to fix it right here, right now. Let's get into it. All right, so AR-9s, they use a lot of mil-spec parts, and depending on how exactly it's built, they're not a whole lot different across the board. AR-9s, right? They're not a whole lot different. Some major differences can be what magazines they use. You can get into some radial delayed actions and stuff. You can do some stuff like that, but in general, they're pretty close to the same things. So I already have an AR-9 that I have had for years and love it, and it functions and it cycles. It's just a fun gun, right? A step above a 22 as far as power and suppression, just a fun gun to shoot. And I really liked it, so I'm building another one. And so this guy, I'm going off of a different kind of magazine setup. So this uses Colt magazines. And pretty much aside from the magazine, this has the same barrel, this has the same stock, and pretty much same buffer tube, or it is the same buffer tube, slightly different buffer weight. I've already used this upper receiver itself on another 9mm build, so I know that it works. It's the exact same trigger, mil-spec lower parts kits. So much of this is the same. And I'll show you exactly what happened. I take a round, put it in the gun, right? I load the gun, I fire a round, fires, locks open because this does have a bolt hold open. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Take another round, stick it in here, and now watch what happens. Drop the bolt. Ah, we got a problem here. So I was looking at this, I was like, what is going on here? There's a weird little thing going on to where I have the old or the spent case in front of the bolt, but behind the charging handle. So if I take my magazine out, I can get that live round out. I can kind of pull back on the charging handle a little bit, and that live round should fall out. But that spent round, that case in there, he's stuck between the charging handle and the bolt. So we can get that out by pulling back on the charging handle a little bit. He won't come back all the way, but if we stop and hold the bolt, keep the bolt from moving, push forward on the charging handle, then that brass comes out, see? All right, so we've cleared the malfunction, but the problem remains, why is it getting that malfunction? And I started thinking to myself, well, is it actually ejecting? Obviously it's not ejecting. If we take a round, again, if we load one round, he loads perfectly fine. We can fire it. He fires perfectly fine. He looks like everything's perfectly fine. However, I don't know if it'll come across on camera. If we look down in there, hopefully we can see down in there. If we look down in there, you should be able to tell there's still a piece of brass in there. And do you see what's right next to it? Maybe you can see in there. I hope you can see in there, because if you can, then you can diagnose this pretty dang quick. The ejector is in there, but it's offset to the left side of that piece of brass. So that piece of brass is not coming in contact. Hopefully it's in there. You see it? That brass is not coming in contact where it needs to with that, whoa, now we really got it messed up. Yeah, he's not coming in contact with that ejector. So you can have a whole host of problems like we just had right there, where the brass did come off of the extractor, but then it fell down in the fire control. It's a bad recipe for disaster, and the problem is our ejector. I think I finally figured it out. So I decided, let's just make a video. Let's educate some people on this, because this could really be a problem to where it could really stump some people. It could really get you stumped. It'd be like, what is wrong? Brand new pieces and parts. This upper should work on this lower perfectly fine. And that's another thing you could do. That's another perfectly good example of what you could do to diagnose the situation. If you have two uppers that you know the uppers should work, right? If you have this system that works all by itself perfectly fine, then you should be able to put the new upper on the working lower, get ourselves a bullet, load that in here, fire that guy off, magazine comes out, everything ejected, I saw it eject, everything works perfectly fine. That is one easy way to diagnose and to eliminate the upper receiver as the problem. So we can put that whole upper receiver away and say, what is up with our lower receiver? And in this case, the lower receiver, it has, since this uses the stick magazines, it has a built-in ejector. This piece right here, that's the ejector, all right? On this system, right, he does not, since this runs off a mil-spec lower receiver, mil-spec lower receivers don't have a built-in ejector. They don't. That's in the bolt carrier group, or in the bolt itself. AR-9 bolts don't have an ejector, right? They have an extractor, they don't have an ejector. So a mil-spec lower receiver is not gonna have a built-in ejector. It's not gonna happen. However, this guy runs off endomags, and endomags have this little nubbin, this little piece that sticks out right there. That is your ejector on an endomag. So I've been used to this system for so long, right? I haven't really played around with many other systems. I have one other system that has this problem, or had this problem, and I completely forgot about it. But it does the same thing, to where this ejector, all it needs is to be bent over so it comes in contact with the piece of brass. So easy peasy enough. It's just a piece of metal. It's locked down in there. He's not going to move, but we can move it over. We can just adjust it basically. So we'll adjust it over. All right, now, I'm not sure how easy you can see in there. I know I can see in there. You guys probably can't. But if you look in there, I think now you should be able to look in there and see that that ejector is bent over a little bit. It doesn't take a whole lot. You're not talking about massive movements. You're just talking about bending that piece of metal a little bit. So, easy way we should be able to tell is if we load this guy, well, if we put a round in it, we shouldn't even have to fire it, because we should be able to load one round and it should eject. It ejects. It wasn't doing that earlier. So now we'll go ahead and we'll load up a couple rounds and we'll see if it actually works. All right, so 5 rounds. Let's see if this guy works. He should cycle. I'm gonna assume that he will, because he ejected that live round, so I think he's gonna cycle just fine. There he goes. And he holds right open on the last round. Take the magazine out. Everything seems to be fine. There is no last, the last piece of brass is ejected. Works fine. So there you go. I know I probably way over-explained and way over-complicated that. But working through your system, especially if you have 2 systems, one that you know works, right? We were able to eliminate the upper receiver, that was not the problem. Whew, that's good. And it shouldn't be the problem. It uses the same bolt carrier group, same charging handle, same barrel. The uppers, it's billet, but I mean, it's worked before on a different lower, or on a different lower, and everything else. It has been fine. Everything has worked perfectly fine. I've vetted most of all these pieces on the upper receiver. If it was one of those pieces, we have a whole host of different other problems to deal with, right? So it narrowed it down to the lower. And what was majorly different about the lower is that he ran off of different mags. And the stick Colt mags, it's just a stick Colt mag. There is no ejector built into this thing. On our endo mags, your ejector is built into the magazine itself. So we're able to narrow it down, figure it out. Simple, easy little fix. Something you really could do at the range by yourself if you're building one of these things, or working on one of these, or if you have a buddy, if you want to be that friend that goes over your buddy and gunsmiths his gun while he's working on it, you probably don't want to be that guy. Generally, don't be that guy, right? Let people ask you for help. Don't necessarily go around offering your help all the time. I'm getting off track. I'm getting a little off trail, so there you go. That's some information for you guys. Hopefully it helps somebody out there. Hopefully it saves you a trip, and an expensive potential trip, to go get stuff worked over that doesn't need to be worked over. You don't need to send your gun back. You just needed to bend your ejector. That's all the problem was. All right, hopefully that helps you guys. Again, I'm sorry if I overcomplicated that, but I'm Caleb Downing with SDI, and hopefully we'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.